Hello everyone, today I'm very happy to meet you again for a new video. Today a very special video about the upcoming European elections in 2024 that's coming in less than a week. In this video I will try to tell you all you need to know about those elections, and also in the second part I will give you a brief presentation of the major European political parties, their manifesto, their leaders, etc, to give you a better idea to who vote for. Well, first of all, I will begin by give you a little warning that this video is exclusively about those elections in a general, in a European point of view, and will not concern the specific EU member countries election. I made a video about those elections but in France specific case, so if you know French, well, go see it. Each country has its specifics that I will not cover today, unfortunately. So first of all, what are those elections for? Well, it's simply the general election in the European Union elects the 720 member of European Parliament, and as I said, every country in EU will vote for their representatives, but the system, as you can see here, is very different for each country. The union kind of lets each country choose what they want to do, but there is a certain number of limits for all the countries to respect. For example, a very interesting part of those elections is that every country must use a proportional representative way of electing. That means that, let's see this example, if the Grey Party gets 20% of the vote, and let's assume that there are in total 10 seats, logically they will have 2 seats because that corresponds to 20% of the seats. If the Yellow Party has 10%, they will get 1 seat because it's 10% of 10 seats. The Blue Party is 30%, so 3 seats, and the Orange Party 40, so 4 seats. Again, it's just an example, it's absolutely not representative of anything in real life. It's just to make you better understand that proportional system that isn't the case in every country. Sometimes it's a first past the post, which is a completely different system, but here is a EU law. Once every MEPs from every EU country is elected, they get all together in the European Parliament. Once inside the European Parliament, once they get seated and meet everyone, well, they will kind of abandon their national status. Like, yes, the French MEP is still a French MEP, the German is still a German MEP, but in some ways they all become European MEPs that will now form groups by their political ideology rather than their country. Like the blue guy in Germany and the blue guy in France will sit together and form a political group to discuss and vote and modify laws and work together as a single political party. So that's a very important thing to understand. When you are elected by your country, but once you are elected and get in the European Parliament, well, you become European MEPs that form groups with other European MEPs. The number of seats allocated by country is representative of the population. Of course, Germany has the biggest number of people in the EU, so they get the most seats, and there is a minimum of 6 seats, so even the smallest country, they get 6 seats, like Malta, Luxembourg even. So the election date, as you saw, is from 6th of June to 9th of June, but as you can see, nearly every country votes during the 9th of June. Because of that, all the results in every country will be unveiled only the night of the 9th June and not before. Let's get back to the fundamental question: what is the European Parliament? What work does the MEP do? Very simply, the European Parliament, as the name suggests, is the legislative organ of the European Union, so it's them that discuss, modify, vote and adopt the different laws across the European Union, but they also do other stuff such as discussing and modifying budget for the European Union and make sure that EU's other organs such as the European Commission, EU Council, etc. are good and work fine. And also another thing very important in this election is that technically, or at least many people say that the winning group, the winning political party in the European Parliament can choose its leader as the next European Commission president. For those who don't exactly know what the European Commission president is, it's Ursula von der Leyen at the moment, and it's basically one of the most important roles in the EU. Like, it's a little bit like you are the president of the European Union, and that's called the Spitzenkandidaten system. As I said, the party with the most seats at the election gets his leader chosen as the new president of the European Commission, but these people won't be automatically chosen as the European Commission leader, because the European Commission president is a result of a very complex political game between the European Parliament and the European Council, and the European Parliament cannot really decide for the European Commission by itself. The European Council needs to approve, and oftentimes is very complicated. It's not an automatic process. That being said, I'll talk a lot about the European political parties, but the very important thing to understand is that there are two different things. There are the European political party, like I said, which are the groups formed by parties in every country of EU that have the same ideology, but there are also European political groups inside the European Parliament that aren't exactly the same as the European political party. For the EPP, it's very simple. There is the European People's Party, and there is the EPP group of the different members of that party in the parliament. For SD also it's very simple. There's a party, a group, and ID2 there's a party and a group. But there are other groups for which it's more complicated. For example, the Renew Europe group in the parliament is composed of the ALDE party, but also the EDP party. The Greens EFA in the European Parliament group is composed of the European Greens party, but also the European Free Alliance. The ECR group in the parliament is composed of the ECR party, but there are also members of the ECPM party that are members of the ECR group. And for the group of the left in the European Parliament, there is 4 different European political parties that are involved. All of that is very complicated. I won't get into the details, but all you have to know for today is that I will only talk about the European political groups inside the parliament and not the political parties as such, because otherwise it would be really too long to talk about everything. So here is the actual composition of the European Parliament. That's also a little bit why I will only talk about the groups. It's because, like, at the end of the day, what matters the most is the European Parliament groups and not the European political party, because it's really by groups that the MEPs will vote for laws and make change and discuss and work together. That's why I will only present the groups and not the parties today. Before we start now the presentation of every major European Parliament groups, for every group I will present a little bit their Spitzenkandidat, or at least the leader of their party. But again, it's a very complete mess, because some parties, some groups have a common Spitzenkandidat, but some have an official leader but isn't really the Spitzenkandidat. Some just simply doesn't recognize the system and have no official leader. And as I said, some groups are formed by multiple parties and every party has its own Spitzenkandidat. So yeah, it's very complicated. I will do my best to include everyone, but please forgive me if you don't agree with the person I put as a leader of the party. So how we will proceed today in order to be fair to everyone, I will present each of the 7 major groups in the European Parliament by their most recent polling results. So the poll I took is an aggregation of polls in May 2024. So I will use it as a way to classify the different groups in this video simply. So let's start with the group currently at number 7 in the polls, the Left, led by Walter Bayer. So first of all, who is Walter Bayer? Well, he is a 70 years old Austrian politician who worked at the Austrian Communist Party. He is the leader of the left in the European Parliament since 2022. Simply put, it's a party of left, even far left, who promotes democratic socialism, sometimes even communism, and they are a little bit Eurosceptic and want a big reform of the European Union. So here are some real world examples of what this party is promising in case they get elected as the most seats. They want the EU to be carbon neutral by 2035. It's very ambitious. The plan for now at the moment is of course 2050. They also want to implement a minimal income across all EU, and also they want a more peaceful Europe with less arms, less military. Here are some of the major parties at national level that get in the left. There's La France Insoumise in France, there's also Die Linke in Germany, and the Progressive Party of Working People in Cyprus. So here are their last election results. I won't comment it because I don't have the time to comment everything, but you can pause the video if you want to read them specifically. The 6th group in the polls right now is the Greens / EFA group, which has 2 leaders, Terry Rentke and Bas Ekut. So let's start with Terry Rentke. She is a 37 years old German politician. First worked with the German Greens, then with the Greens EFA group in the European Parliament, where she was elected in 2014. Then we have the 47 years old Bas Ekut from the Netherlands, who was elected in 2009 and has been since a very active member in the European Parliament of the Greens and EFA group. So what the Greens EFA group want? Well, of course, it's a party of center-left / left. They want eco-politics, they want regionalisms, and they are very pro-EU. Some examples are they want the carbon neutrality by 2040, 10 years ahead of the current 2050 goal. They are also very in favor of EU expansions, and also they are in favor of a common food and agriculture policy. You've certainly heard about the common agriculture policy that made a lot of noises recently in the European news. Well, they want to also include food in it. Some of the best representatives of this group is Les Écologistes in France, the Green Party of Germany, and also the Green Party in Finland, as the name suggests. Their past election results. And now let's talk about the 5th, which is Identity and Democracy, led by Anders Vistisen. 36 years old, Anders Vistisen is a Danish politician who worked at the Danish People's Party, then was elected in 2014 as an MEP for the ECR party, but he later then switched to ID. What is ID? Well, it's the most right, far right party in the European Parliament. It's really about right-wing populism. It's really about anti-immigration, and it's a very Eurosceptic, so against EU in its current form. The specificity of ID is that they don't have an European scale manifesto. They don't have a proposition. They don't have promise of what they'll do if they get elected. Instead, they chose to really rely on the platforms of each ID's member in their own country. Here are some of the notable members: Rassemblement National in France, the Freedom Party of Austria, and there is the Lega Party in Italy. Their last election result. Please note that in 2014 their group didn't exist, so I put the EFDD. The results: EFDD was a precedent EU Parliament group. They don't exist anymore, and they're kind of the ancestors of ID. Now at the fourth place there's the European Conservatives and Reformists, led by Richard Legutko and Nicola Procaccini. Richard Legutko is a 74 years old Polish politician that was before a philosopher, and he was elected as a MEP in 2009. What you really need to know is that the ECR party doesn't have any official Spitzenkandidaten in case they get the most seats in the upcoming election. So I present him to be fair with the ECR group because I present leaders also of the other parties, but you need to know that the ECR group officially doesn't recognize the Spitzenkandidat system, and ID doesn't either. And then we have Nicola Procaccini, an Italian politician who was elected MEP in 2029 and is a member of the Brothers of Italy party. He was also the mayor of Terracina before. So what is the ECR group? Well, technically speaking, it's a little bit less far right than the ID, but it's still a very far right group. In Wikipedia it says right, but in reality it's a very far right group like ID. It's very conservatism, it's very nationalism, and it's also very Eurosceptic. They want to profoundly reform EU and don't accept it as its current form. They want to strengthen the borders at the EU. They want also less power for the EU, more power for the individual country, and they also don't want to hear about the Green Deal or the common agricultural policy that they think aren't the good thing to do, and they want to let each country be more independent in their choices. Some of the notable national parties include the Law and Justice Party in Poland, the Civic and Democratic Party in Czechia, and the Brothers of Italy party in Italy. Here are the last results. At the third place now we have Renew Europe with Marie-Agnès Strack-Zimmermann and Sandro Gozzi. Marie-Agnès Strack-Zimmermann, what you need to know about this 66 years old German politician is that she isn't for now an MEP. She hasn't been elected for the European Parliament. She's elected in the German Parliament, the Bundestag, since 2017, and is a politician of the FDP party in Germany. On the other hand, we have Sandro Gozzi, 56 years old, an Italian politician, which has the specificity of having been elected as a MEP in France in the Renaissance group, but he's now in the Italian party of Italia Viva is also the Secretary General of the EDP. What is Renew Europe is a party of center that promotes liberalism, social liberalism, and is very, very pro-EU. For example, they want to strengthen EU's defense capabilities. They also want to reform election to allow citizens to vote not only for their country's candidates but also for the candidates across all EU, and they also want more free trade partnership with other countries. Notable national parties include the Citizens Party in Spain, the Anno 2011 party in Czechia, and the Renaissance Party in France. Here are their last results. 2014 they didn't exist, so I put the ALDE group results instead. Now for the second in the polls, now it's the Progressive Alliance of Socialists and Democrats, also known as S&D, led by Nicolas Schmidt. This 70 years old Luxembourg was elected MEP in 2019. He is an European Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights under the von der Leyen government. He is a member of the Luxembourg Socialist Workers' Party and was member of the government of Luxembourg to 2019. So what the S&D group is, it's a group of center-left that promotes social democracy, progressivism, and is very pro-EU too. For example, they want to reduce the gender pay gap, to eliminate it altogether. They're also very in favor of EU expansion to other candidate countries, and they want to build green energy sources. Some notable examples include the Spanish Socialist Workers' Party, the Social Democratic Party of Germany, and the Socialist Party in Portugal. Here are their last election results, and you can see that they are a little bit the eternal second, like they always arrive in second place. That's been the case for decades now. And now polling at number one again is European People's Party, led by Ursula von der Leyen. This 65 years German is of course the now president of the European Commission since 2019. Before that she was a member of the German government with her CDU party under the Angela Merkel's government, where she served as many ministers like Minister of Defense, Minister of Labor. What the EPP is, well, it's a party of center-right to right who promotes Christian democracy, liberal conservatism, and is very pro-EU. For example, they want stricter border control, they want to greatly improve the EU defense industry, and they also want more free trade agreements. Some notable parties include the CDU in Germany, the Austrian People Party, and the People's Party in Spain. Here are their last election results. You can see that every time they arrived first. So now that kind of the end of the video, before I will show you a little bit the past results. So here is the composition of the parliament now in 2024. You can see that it's very divided. The PP is only slightly most seat, but the S&D has big group 2 right after the 2019 election. That's what the parliament was like. To be honest, there isn't much that changed since in the 2014 election. It's also a little bit of the same, but with a more powerful PPE and S&D, and a little bit less powerful Renew, and more divided far right. To find the last time that the EPP wasn't governing, you need to go back to 1994, when it was the last time that the S&D got the most seats. So yeah, that's been a very long time that the EPP has been governing, and it don't seem like it's gonna change. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you are interested, check out my video for the European elections in France, and also please stay focused on my YouTube channel, because next week when we will get the election result, I will make another video a lot shorter, but to wrap up all the results of those elections to you to see what happens. So yeah, stay tuned, and I say see you next time for next video.